Guys, we've got some new footage coming out of Minnesota, and the Timberwolves are already putting in work as they prepare for the upcoming season. We're seeing Ant-Man, Jaden McDaniels, and the newest addition to the roster, LaMelo Ball, getting some early work in. And this is something worth paying attention to, because LaMelo could potentially become one of those additions that changes how Minnesota operates offensively. After spending his career in Charlotte, LaMelo now gets a completely different environment, and more importantly, another opportunity to prove that he can be a major piece on a winning team. Charlotte had a strong stretch toward the end of last season, but they still weren't able to reach the postseason, and with the organization making changes, LaMelo eventually moved on. Now he comes into Minnesota with something to prove. He has the talent, the size, the creativity, and the passing ability. But the biggest question has always been whether all of that can translate into consistent winning basketball. Ant-Man has a similar challenge in front of him. Minnesota has already shown that they can beat elite competition, but now they have to prove they can stay at that level throughout an entire season. With Oklahoma City and San Antonio looking like serious contenders in the West, the Timberwolves know the margin for error is getting smaller. They can't rely on the same formula and expect different results. They need more offensive options, more consistency, and more ways to attack teams when defenses focus heavily on Edwards. That's where LaMelo becomes so interesting. If he can stay healthy, make smart decisions, and accept his role within the system, he could give Minnesota another creator who forces defenses to make difficult choices. So let's take a closer look at this footage and talk about what LaMelo could actually mean for this Timberwolves team. This is a massive opportunity for LaMelo Ball to change the way people look at his career. Coming out of Charlotte, he has already shown that he can put up numbers, create offense, make highlight reel passes, and take over stretches of games. But now, the challenge is different. Minnesota doesn't simply need another player who can score. They need somebody who can help make the entire offense function better. And LaMelo has some of the tools to do exactly that. He's a big guard, he can see over smaller defenders, and he has the kind of passing vision that can create opportunities before the defense is even ready. Then you have Jaden McDaniels on the wing, and you can already see him becoming more confident with his offensive game. If LaMelo is consistently getting downhill and forcing defenders to collapse, McDaniels could see easier opportunities on cuts, kickouts, and open shots. The same thing applies to Ant-Man. Edwards has spent a lot of time dealing with defenses designed specifically to stop him. Teams know he's the primary threat, so they load up, bring help defenders, and try to make somebody else beat them. LaMelo changes that equation. Now you have another player who can bring the ball up, create a shot, attack a mismatch, or throw a pass that turns into an easy basket. You could see more backdoor cuts, more lobs, more transition opportunities, and more movement because the defense can't simply lock in on Edwards. Mike Conley has been an important veteran presence, and his best years in Memphis and Utah showed exactly what kind of floor general he can be. But at this stage of his career, expecting him to provide the same speed and pressure he once did simply isn't realistic. LaMelo can bring another gear to the backcourt. He can push the tempo, attack early, and create plays without needing everything to be perfectly set up. He also brings size, which can become valuable when Minnesota faces bigger guards and physical defensive teams. The interesting part will be watching how he fits with the coaching staff. We saw in Charlotte that LaMelo seemed to perform well when he was trusted, but also held accountable. Charles Lee at times appeared willing to let him operate freely when he was making good decisions, but he also wasn't afraid to pull him when LaMelo started forcing plays or taking unnecessary risks. That balance could be important in Minnesota. Because the criticism surrounding LaMelo has always gone in two different directions.
One side believes he was simply stuck in the wrong situation in Charlotte and never had enough structure or talent around him. The other side believes his numbers can be misleading and that he has sometimes produced flashy statistics without consistently impacting winning. That's the question this season gives him a chance to answer. And defensively, his presence could also affect how teams approach Minnesota. Think about a matchup with Oklahoma City. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Alex Caruso, among others, capable of putting pressure on the Timberwolves. Those defenders have traditionally been able to throw multiple bodies toward Edwards and make him work for everything. But now the opponent has another problem. If one defender stays attached to LaMelo, another has to deal with Ant-Man, and Jaden McDaniels can create another matchup on the wing. You simply don't have as much freedom to overload one side of the floor. That's why this addition could be more important than just adding another scorer. Minnesota needed another player who could absorb some of the offensive responsibility. They need someone who can keep the offense alive when Edwards goes to the bench. They don't want those minutes to turn into five-man possessions where everyone waits for someone else to make a play. They also no longer have Naz Reid, which creates another adjustment for the rotation. Once Dante returns and everyone is available, it'll be interesting to see how the pieces are distributed and who closes games. But LaMelo has a real opportunity here. He can change the conversation around his career by showing that his talent can translate into winning. Ant-Man has his own challenge. After Minnesota knocked out the Joker, a lot of people believed that team had a legitimate chance to win the championship. But when they eventually faced Luka and Dallas, the matchup exposed some weaknesses, and Minnesota looked completely different. Then Karl Towns Jr. was moved, and now Towns is winning in New York alongside Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. That naturally brings the pressure back to Edwards. People are going to ask a simple question. You were able to knock out the Joker, so what are you doing with that opportunity now? Minnesota has already proven it can beat elite teams. The next step is proving that it can consistently survive the entire Western Conference. And Rudy Gobert could benefit from all of this too. If LaMelo is attacking the paint and Edwards is constantly putting pressure on defenders, Gobert should have more opportunities for lobs, offensive rebounds, and quick finishes around the rim. But he has to be ready. He can't bobble those passes or hesitate when the opportunity appears. LaMelo's passing can create easy chances, but those chances only matter if Minnesota converts them. That combination of LaMelo's creativity and Ant-Man's downhill pressure could open parts of the floor that weren't consistently available before. So yeah, I want to know what you guys think about this Timberwolves team. Where do you project Minnesota to finish in the Western Conference? I think they have the pieces to make some serious noise if everything comes together. They should match up well against several teams, but there are still some major questions in the conference. San Antonio is one of them. I'm still not sure what the answer is for Wemby if he continues getting stronger and more comfortable. If Castle develops into a more reliable shooter and Dylan Harper starts making a bigger impact, the Spurs could become extremely difficult to deal with. And honestly, I may have to make a separate video about San Antonio, because I think they could be making a mistake by keeping Harper in a sixth-man role for too long. At some point, you have to give a young player that talented the responsibility to grow through real game situations. If he spends too much time coming off the bench, it could slow down his development and potentially create frustration inside the locker room. But that's a conversation for another video. For now, I want to hear your thoughts on Minnesota. Do you think LaMelo can become the second creator this team has been missing? Can Ant-Man take another step? And where do you have the Timberwolves finishing in the West? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.